Hello and welcome to Net That Haul. We're here for the Blank Double Gameweek 25 special. Yeah, sounded weird saying it too. So I'm, of course, FPL Pop, as you can see. I forgot to change my name from last week. So yeah, anyone who missed last week's show, you won't get it. But anyway, Gabriel, how are you, my friend? And at FPL Lens, obviously, my co-host is here live. It's just the two of us tonight steering the ship, and we send our regards to Mr. Mariner.
Indeed, we send our regards to Mr. Mariner, who unforeseen circumstances, but he couldn't be here with us today. But our thoughts are with him, and our thoughts are with our haulers as well, which is why the show must go on. And I know Mariner will be happy that the show is going on. And just really quickly, do let us know in the chat if there are any sound issues. We have had some sound leprechauns recently who have been messing with us. So I don't know if it's the return of the leprechaun or Leprechaun 2 or what's going on, but hopefully we sound okay. We are on the eve of the Champions League. I don't know, probably like 4-1 Madrid and Anfield would be amazing. We're both representing our colors here today. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this show, the Paradox Game Week.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a special one, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about your kind of potential plans for Game Week 25. I know that it might not be one of the more common chip strategies going into the end of the season, so I am keen to ask you a little bit about that kind of free hit in Game Week 25 and whether you're going to pull the plug on that. But yeah, otherwise, obviously, we've just had double Game Week 29 announced as well for 12 teams. Things are coming thick and fast. April TV fixtures are out. It's starting to feel like Christmas again, but yeah, let's go to the FPL philosophy to start with, and then we'll have a little look at the chip stuff there. But I think before we go deep into the spreadsheets of fixtures and potential cancel fixtures, let's just take a moment to reflect and meditate.
Okay, the FPL philosophy of the week for Game Week 25. It's a little bit of a visual experience, so I do recommend. I'm going to try to read it the way, like phonetically, the way it's kind of spelled. But the key is that most of the words are misspelled here. And this quote comes to us from a humorist from the late 1800s. This particular quote is from the 1870s. His name was Josh Billings, and he said, "I honestly believe it is better to know nothing than to know what ain't so." And the spelling is all wrong. And it basically, I honestly believe it is better to know nothing than to know what ain't so. And you know, I went going on Twitter yesterday and today. There are like, now that these doubles are coming up, and like our old lover, the Liverpool, that their assets are kind of good again. That there's all this frenzy and there are all these narratives being touted. Like, I mean, there are people selling Trippier, the best defender by far in FPL this season, and keeping Shaw. Shaw has 10 bonus points on the season. Trippier has 31. like I don't know what is happening here. And then the other narrative is this narrative that people are going in quite confidently on Liverpool. I'm on a free hit, and I'm going in quite aggressively on Liverpool as well. But I'm not going in confidently at all. I don't believe that Liverpool is back at all. I think they've kept some lucky clean sheets with high XG, and they've scored some decent goals recently, but we haven't seen enough of this. So yeah, remember, it's better to know nothing than to believe bullshit, basically, is what the point is.
I see what you mean about the visual experience too, though. Yeah, like if you're on podcasts, I don't think it hits home as hard as when you see the kind of the errors in the sentence itself. But it's very yeah, I don't know, it's a bit spiritual here, this one, but I never thought, you know, bad grammar would get me this deep, but it really has, Gabriel. So
hey, hooked on phonics worked for me, Nima.
yeah,
I don't know if that's a pop culture reference from, it's just the States. Did you guys have hooked on phonics in the UK?
No, I don't think so.
No?
Maybe
It's
some
like
of the guys in the chat can tell us, but
it's like a learn to read program.
oh, I see. Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah, so
I can see just a few shout outs now as well before we talk about double game week. So we have a couple of the haulers live in the chat joining us already. So what's up, Podna? Good to see you, mate. C Hunt as well. Thanks for tuning in. Akib. Yeah, my name was still from last week. There is no crackle this week yet, thank God. Good to see you, Claire. Good evening. And Catherine, thanks for tuning in live. General Zod, hi mate, how are you? And then we'll continue just saying hi as people come in, and obviously start your questions for the Q&A at the end. Yeah, let's just have a very brief few minutes look at the double game weeks that are not game week 25, because I think my main point here is that I just don't think it's worth planning too far ahead yet. I think we need to wait for those FA Cup games between game week 25 and 26. So kind of the situation I'm in is just to go aggressive this week, do whatever I can to get as many doublers as I can, basically. And then just see, like, do Liverpool have a game in 28 or not? And once I know that, then I think I'll look at potential chip strategies. So that's kind of maybe going to come into next week's episode, 26, 27, 28. We'll have a lot of chip talk then. And I think maybe all three of us as hosts will maybe even go different routes, because you've obviously already begun with a potential free hit this week. But just in terms of the newest announcement, I think it's worth putting it out there, especially for podcast listeners who might not have seen this yet. So the 12 teams that are going to be doubling in 29 that were announced earlier today are Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, and West Ham. So yes, that's going to be probably the biggest double game week of the season. And thank you as well to FPL Focal, who's made this very fancy graphic in a very short amount of time. So do check out his 5-minute double game week chip strategy video if you want to know more. And then again, Ben Crellin, who somehow updated his spreadsheet within like 6 minutes of the Premier League's official announcement of these fixtures. He now has everything through from game week 25 to 34. So again, if you're on podcast, come to the 6-minute 50 timestamp and you can see all the confirmed doubles so far and the potential blanks in 28 and 32. The reason I like this graphic, Gabriel, is this is the first time that the long-term view also shows potential doubles for 34. No one before today on any FPL content, unless they were looking at Ben Crellin's like spreadsheet, and even the one he was publicly putting on Twitter for free, did not go to 34 till about an hour ago. So this is fresh off the press.
Fresh
definitely
off the
worth
press.
looking at. Yeah, it might help you decide if you like the look of the confirmed doubles in 29 more than the ones in 34. Maybe that will help you start to think about your chip strategy. So we'll move on now to the matchups, I think. But I guess the only thing I want to add is that the blanks that happen in 28 and 32, these are the ones that are going to lead to the doubles in 34 and 37. So those are kind of the last remaining big double game weeks, if you like to call it that. There will likely be one other double game week, Ben Crellin says in his recent update, but that's potentially going to be somewhere like game week 30 or 31, and it's going to be maybe just one extra fixture where it's a team like Brighton who've got a lot of games to catch up on. I guess the only other small tweak to 29 that you might see as well is that Tottenham's game in 28 might be moved to 29 to make that a double, and City and Arsenal don't double in 29. I think that's kind of the high level summary and as quick as I can of like everything that's happening. So let us know in the chat if this has kind of made it more difficult for you, if you've got a headache, or whether the new announcement this afternoon with the fixtures has kind of helped you shape up the path you're going to take for the rest of the season. But yeah, let's go into the show then. Let's go into the matchups for this week. I'm excited about attacking the week ahead, as I say. I think the chips can wait till next week for me, but not for you. So I'd love to hear your take. As this week, I'd love you to kind of talk about the data, but then how that's influencing your free hit thoughts, and especially maybe assets that you think are more worth getting on a free hit than you would get if you were someone who wasn't on a free hit. Because I'm sure there's lots of haulers listening in the chat who are also potentially thinking about a free hit. So it'd be interesting to hear what assets you think are maybe differentials they could go for based on these matchups that they don't have to carry through their team going forwards.
Yeah, just that as we get into the first matchup here, which I believe is Fulham Wolves. I want to Connor Hunt in the chat says the lack of Liverpool faith is half the reason to free hit them in. And I really that was one of the main reasons I decided to free hit, is because I don't know that I want Liverpool assets. And if I did, I wouldn't know I still don't know exactly who to sell. Like, am I selling Mahrez right now? I'm not sure. I want to see them play Champions League tomorrow and stuff. So yeah, this is kind of like born a little bit of lack of faith. But just to get into Fulham versus Wolves here, our first match, we won't spend too much time on this one for obvious reasons. Yeah, FPL Sparta is joining the house as well. Welcome. So the data, NetxG, Fulham home 1.23 compared to Wolves 0.55. The FDR is Fulham 0.4 compared to Wolves 0.1. So I guess there's somewhat of an agreement in the data here. I think maybe NetxG still likes Fulham a little bit more. Let's see. Notice the one thing I want to say is right at the top there, the goalkeeper metric for Fulham is quite high. That's Bernd Leno's form. We've spoken about that, his form in recent weeks as well. It's they're playing home, so his goalkeeper metric there is 0.54, which the idea, like, you can think of it as like it's not exact, it's not XG prevented, like he's taking that much out, but you can view it that way. That makes it like you need to perform half a goal more, basically, to get
one
your
against them.
yeah, to get your regular what the regular production predicted production would be.
I assume that's where Wolves' attacking numbers in the NetxG fall off a bit because of that as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially since they don't get shots on target, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see the shots on target. And the shots on target sometimes don't focus so much on the numbers, but you see if Wolves don't have any chance of 3 or 4 goals, it means they're not getting. It means the sample size is too small, actually, because the shots on target should be taken with a grain of salt, because the sample size is always much smaller. So there's going to be a lot more variance there. So use the shots goal predictor as your kind of foundation, and then the shots on target as maybe to split some hairs or something like that, or use it definitely with some context and caveats.
Maybe from a team that has more shots on target, then the sample will be at least a bit bigger, right?
It'll be more reliable. Exactly. And then the last thing to notice is none of the zonals really line up, and none of the matchups, big chances, shots on target, and shots in the box, none of those line up. But interestingly, for both of them, the headed matchups line up. And I thought, it's 3.0 for Fulham and 2.7 for Wolves. And I thought that was interesting. Like, are we, I mean, you were talking about differentials. Craig Dawson is in my starting 11 on my free hit right now.
He does seem quite exciting as a kind of free hit pick, as you say, because I know people are trying to go cheaper with the likes of Kilman, or I've got Bueno. I'm praying that he plays 245 minutes to get 2 points, or maybe he starts one and flukes a clean sheet and then doesn't start the other. Who knows? But I just don't see it's not worth a hit for me, say, going Bueno to Kilman. And equally, on a free hit, like, you can go for Dawson because you don't need to hold him. And that's quite exciting, actually. I do like that from a headed matchup differential. So glad you shouted that one out. In terms of who to sell, so I think one of the questions of this game week isn't just who do we get from the kind of the double game weekers. Obviously, people are potentially already on free Arsenal. Maybe they want to change their free Arsenal. There's Liverpool. They might not want to go all the way with free. If they're not on free hit, they might get 1 or 2. Then you've got, obviously, Wolves and Everton. So in this scenario, the question is, who do we sell? And a lot of people will still have Mitrovic. And I know he missed out last game. We don't know if he's going to be ready for the next game. Is he someone that you could be talked into selling for a double game weeker? Now, we won't talk about which double game weeker yet, because we're talking more about, are they a viable sell?
Yeah. I mean, I think Fulham's attacking stats have kind of dropped off a cliff recently, and I mean, leading that charge has been Mitrovic, where the play has kind of gone around him. The delivery hasn't been as good. He's had that ongoing foot injury. He's fine now from that, but that was an issue a few weeks ago. So I think actually the time to sell Mitrovic is past gone. So it's an easy,
like, he's recovering from it.
But his fixtures aren't great. There are other players, like, if you're gonna, there are other players, like, you're not gonna be bringing Mitrovic in, right?
Let's say it this way: some people have Tony and Mitrovic. They've now found out Tony has a double, and maybe he was the one they were selling because Mitro wasn't blanking. But with the the information we have now, if they're not looking to use chips in 27, then it does make sense to me.
I think either you froze or I froze. I'm not sure.
I thought it was you, but I have a feeling it was me, because then we both disappeared off my monitor for a second. So
okay, I didn't get the little lines saying that I was.
Oh no, it was definitely me then.
Okay, good. Yeah, so what did you repeat? What you just said?
So I think all I was saying is that a lot of people will have both Tony and Mitrovic right now, and they were perhaps planning to sell Tony originally. Now the double game week in 27 has been announced. If they're not looking to use chips that week, and they still have Mitrovic, and they were going to keep him because he didn't blank this week, that's the kind of scenario where I can see owners of both now looking to move Mitrovic on instead of Tony to get to a player. So that's kind of a scenario that might be relevant to some of you in the chat. Right. I guess just Andreas, I have him, and obviously, like, I need him to even get close to fielding 11 players this week. But I'm not too wedded on him. So yeah, I think he's just there. I don't expect too much from him, and this data doesn't give me too much hope for him doing much apart from maybe a set piece and then like, you know, someone gets a header in, and that's where the headed matchup might suit me for like a cheeky assist or something. But I'm not expecting anything major.
And the rest is a function of structure, right? And if you have to play him, you play him and hope. But typically, you don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. So just before we get to Everton and Aston Villa, quick shout out as well to Benjamin Lockwood. Thanks for tuning in live, mate. And yeah, we'll go to this one because obviously this is another one of the double game week teams. Everton, they also don't blank in 28. Aston Villa don't blank in 28 either. Is this somewhere where you're looking to go? Is there any of their midfielders? Because I know a lot of people just talking about Tarkowski, but no one seems to be interested in Everton attackers. But yeah, I'm sure you'll tell us why when we look at the data.
Everton, Aston Villa, yeah. I mean, interestingly, I wanted to check. I think Aston Villa have scored in every single game that Unai Emery has managed for them. I think
that does sound about right.
I think so. So I mean, Villa score, and I mean, they don't score with quantity though. They'll come through and they'll bang like a couple of just like quality shots. But if you notice that the shots goal predictors there, it's all a sea of red. The one green and the one goal means that there are others with a higher chance of only one goal. So the lower chance of one goal, the more green it gets. And then the raw numbers, we have NetxG says 1.35 for Villa, 1.07 for Everton. The FDR is opposite though, isn't it? It completely disagrees with NetxG. It has negative 1.8 away for Villa and positive 0.6 home for Everton. I don't know if there's any weighting going on there. If Mariner had weighted the data like towards like since TOT-CHE started or something like that.
Yeah, because normally it's the last 6, isn't it? Yeah. And I know that in the 3 TOT-CHE has managed, like they've managed to do pretty well. So if it is just the last 3, that would explain the negativity on Aston Villa and the FDR.
Yeah, and so going to Everton, a TOT-CHE team at home can always be tricky, but I don't know. The best zonal matchup is Ollie Watkins. There, that central matchup. It's not great. 2.3. It's decently positive, but not. It doesn't stand out.
I would love to see the long range after as well, because that's one of my debates this week. Is if I get, let's say, a Liverpool defender and Salah, do I then get someone like Darwin Núñez and go triple, or do I just go for Watkins and have him for game week 28 against Bournemouth as well? So I would love to know like what he looks like, especially from a central matchup, just over the next 5 or so. But that's just a kind of afterthought. I know that not too many people will probably be looking to buy Watkins this week compared to the exciting double game weekers, but it could be an option if you're looking to use your chips in other weeks, right? So
I think Watkins he'll be in our thoughts for sure, and then the coming game weeks.
I think especially in 28, I reckon like one of my plans was, by the time Jesus may be back around game between 7-28, if we see him starting to take minutes from Nketiah and Arsenal don't double in 29, that could be a week where I'm moving Nketiah on to like Tony in 27 for the double, then Tony to Watkins in 28 for the not blanking, then maybe use a chip in 29. So there is a nice little hokey cokey here possible with 3 strikers in 3 different weeks between 26 and 28.
But I think that fact that you mentioned is a point to maybe, if whatever structure you're on now, maybe go to a 3 striker, a 3 forward structure heading into that period. If you want to do, play those kinds of fixtures and have your midfielders be more stalwarts, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I guess just in terms of Everton as well, do you think there's any reason to kind of get Pickford in? There's some people out there who maybe have a very premium goalkeeper. Maybe they went for like a Edison or a De Gea in those double game weeks. Is there an opportunity with them not blanking in 28, albeit not a great fixture? Is there an opportunity to get Everton? I think they played Chelsea in 28, but in my little brain, I could see that being a 0-0 the way both teams play right now.
Honestly, I don't mind that if your other keeper is Kepa and you want to invest, what would it be, 8.9? I don't think that's too. It's 8.9, right? Yeah, 4.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, no, Kepa's probably what, 4.7 now, something like that.
Yeah,
4. So right around the 9 million mark, you're investing on the keeper. I think those are 2 key goalkeepers that will provide value. So that's another one though. You bring up these players that you don't know if you really want to transfer in. but he's nailed in my free hit.
Yeah, he feels like an ideal kind of like a lot of us will be playing Kepa against Tottenham, right? And then you can, in your free hit, go for a double game weeker with what looks like, Villa's numbers are better on the NetxG, I appreciate, but it is still only 1.35. So, there isn't, even though the FDR says the opposite, like minus 1.8 for that. But either way, I would not be shocked if like this was the first game Villa did not score at the Emirates.
Yeah, it could happen, and it could be simultaneously the first game that Villa don't score under Emery and the game where Villa have had the most shots.
Yeah, so those
it could be both those things at the
save
same
points could be nuts.
Because I mean, Villa, that's the one thing I don't like about the pick for this double game week is that Villa don't shoot a lot. It's not about numbers, right? But I think the contrasting style when they meet Everton and they're sitting in this deep block at home, I think they're gonna have to take shots. My hope is that those shots get through and not blocked like Sean Dyche teams normally do.
That's the other thing that could happen. I think the one interesting thing just to add is I know Everton don't score many goals, which is probably why this data is skewed like this. But I think it's close to like 40% of their goals at the moment are like, or their underlying goal numbers are based on set pieces and like headed shots. So someone was saying Tarkowski right now is running at like the highest expected goal numbers of any Everton player since these last 3 games with Dyche.
Also in my actually in my most recent draft, I have triple Everton defense.
I think maybe that's a bit crazy, but I'm assuming that's because you're not using any of those slots on Liverpool defense. You're going triple Liverpool attack.
Yeah, exactly. I have Pickford, Tarkowski, and Coleman.
And then
after Dyche's recent comments on how just how Coleman's form, he's rejuvenated. He's made a Faustian pact here with the devil, and he's bombing up the wing. He got a goal, so I think he's a good punt for a free hit on the double game week. 4.4 million.
Yeah, I think just on that note, for the Patterson owners, I think it is starting to look a bit bad after the quotes coming out from the manager about Coleman. He was praising him so much. He was just in love with Coleman and his leadership, his captaincy, how he's performed since he's joined the team. I don't have a good feeling that you're going to get much out of Patterson this week. So if you've held on to him as like a player and you're counting him as not blanking this week and playing, this might be an opportunity to move him on as well. So I don't know if I'd be looking to hold on to him. I'm not sure you're going to get much out of him in this double game week in terms of minutes.
But that's the other opportunity with the free hit, right? Most people have been holding Patterson, thinking that he's going to come back in, and then Coleman starts playing well, and now he's not, and so we'll see. But yeah, their defense is super dicey.
Yeah. All right. So this one, I think we're definitely not going to spend much on time on. I guess there's some non-toe owners out there. Apart from that, I don't know. I've seen some Ward-Prowse owners from Southampton too, but Leeds versus Southampton, neither team double this week. I can't imagine people are buying these players, but if you had non-toe, I would be starting him, right? But I guess I was saying that about him against United too. So I kind of think you got non-toe. He's just exciting to watch. We always talk about how wanting to have a player that you can enjoy watching in a match. Home to Southampton, like Leeds just got their new manager as well. So hopefully they can fix things up from here and avoid a relegation scrap going into the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to your point, let's not spend too much time. I'll whiz through the data here. Let's see. The goalkeepers are pretty muted. NetxG 1.38, Southampton 1.34. FDR says Leeds 0.6 compared to Southampton 0.1. So again, just pretty even, just kind of like hinting at a 1-1 across the board. Leeds have an interesting, I guess, zonal matchup on the left-hand side there. Could Gnonto maybe pulling out that way, do something there? But I mean, as far as like those players are concerned, like the Gnontos of the world, and like in a game week like this blank double game week, either you are free hitting or you're playing the players you've got, right? So I mean, if Gnonto home to Southampton, that's a nice.
There's other flyers to put out. Yeah, that's not someone you're selling. Maybe he becomes someone you look to move money into when you get to Tony in 27 or Watkins in 28, for example. But now's not the time to sell him. And I think just to caveat it, the reason Mitrovic is perhaps more of a sell is just we don't even know if he's going to be fit. So obviously, you want to wait as close to the deadline as you can. Deadline is on Friday this week, so hopefully that doesn't catch people out. But generally, I just think Mitrovic is expensive enough where you could get to an exciting double game weeker from there. And with Nonto, I'm not sure where you're going to go with that move. So he plays. I'm pretty confident of him.
Ferguson.
I wouldn't be moving him on. Yeah, exactly. And he blanks. So it's like the best assets to go to all blank. So maybe that's one for the following week to prep for the Brighton double. Maybe that's the move, the Nonto to Ferguson move. Before Leicester Arsenal, just a quick shout out to Akshay as well. Thanks for tuning in live, mate. And K7, good to see you too. And we are starring the questions. Don't worry, Podno. We will talk about the minimum number of players you should field this week when we get to the Q&A. But let's talk about this game. This is going to be another big away game for Arsenal. It was looking very ropey last weekend against Villa. Didn't think it would be an easy game, but just about got through, and somehow City scrapped the draw. So it's very crazy how fast things change in the Premier League. You know, between Wednesday and Saturday, there wasn't much time, but the roller coaster of emotion I went through, my God.
I can imagine it. I bet it was not a happy Friday in your household.
No, I don't think from Wednesday.
But Saturday was off the hook.
Yeah, exactly. Wednesday to Friday was terrible, and then since then, Saturday to Tuesday has been fantastic. So hopefully they can keep that up and maintain that momentum. But yeah, it's obviously a double game week for Arsenal. I do like some of Leicester's attacking options. I know they've been a bit more free scoring of late, but again, I just don't see how I can go there with like a blank double game week 25, a normal game week, a double, a blank, a double. It's chaos season. I feel like every move I make is so much more important than it was in the first third of the season. Like these aren't moves I can make, then reverse and fix for another hit the following week. Like I need to make decisions that will align with my chip strategy, hopefully. So with Arsenal, I guess the question is, I don't want to give away anything from the captaincy metric, but those who saw it on Discord early, obviously, the question is Arsenal's double game week better than Liverpool's? Is that like, are people basing Liverpool's double game week strength on just historic Liverpool data and like historic Salah performance from FPL point of view? Because from my point of view, like you said, like have Liverpool completely turned it around that quickly from when we all thought they weren't that great? Or are we getting blinded by double game week? So is it actually that if you have free Arsenal, but it's the wrong free Arsenal, is the priority to fix that this week, considering they don't blank in 28, as opposed to just piling in on Liverpool players who might blank in 28?
Yeah, I'm just glad I don't have to make this call.
Triple attack here as well. Triple attack Arsenal, triple attack Liverpool, triple Everton defense.
I mean, I think there are more gains to be had by piling in on double game week players for this week than there are optimizing your Arsenal players during a double game week, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where maybe if it was in game week 23 when there was the two doubles at the time, you know, that might have been the time to try and get like to another player. Like some people did Martinelli to Odegaard, Martinelli to Saka. Now the reality is obviously Martinelli came off the bench and scored, and you know he seemed very happy enough. I would be pretty surprised if he wasn't straight back into the 11 next week. So I think it was more a rest than anything, and he's scored and he's going to be good to go. I think these fixtures are great for him, but I don't know if the zonals point at anything towards either part of Arsenal's attack. They're not that great. They're 2 for the left, 1.8 for the center, 1.7 for the right, but marginally they're better on the left, right? Martinelli side. So I think if you had Martinelli and you held him through that, I just don't see why you would. Yeah, you're right. Why you would try and optimize that now when he's probably now got his starting space back as well. So I think realistically, the question is, some people are looking at moving on their Arsenal defenders. Again, I don't think this is the week. There's just so much more you can do. Like, I don't know, like selling White isn't going to free up much money, right? That's what people are doing, like White to Trent, but keeping Shaw. And like for me, I would be doing the opposite of that. I just do not see the logic in that move. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if you're doing that in the chat. Why? But
why are people keeping Shaw? What's the argument?
I guess they want to hold on to him. They're like, oh, he's great, and you know, I've only got 3 players to bench. You know, I can bench Shaw, Rashford, and Trippier. It's fine. So I'll just sell one of my starting double as White. Now, I don't understand that, but personally, I wouldn't do that.
No, I'm just looking here, and it's everywhere. People are like selling, keeping Shaw over other assets. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you on Martinelli. I mean, just given the way that position has evolved in recent weeks, I think it's going to be a combination of rotation and hot hand or hot
Yeah.
foot. You know, which
Yeah,
is
I
just
think they
like
will rotate. They will rotate for the rest of the season.
yeah.
That's certain. Like, there will be minutes taken from
Look,
both of them.
Arteta's going to maximize his production from the position. That's what he needs to do. And sometimes then it could be tactical rotation as well. But at this point, he just got rested, and then he's he scored obviously that goal when he after coming on. So he'll be kind of like have confidence from that. So Arteta will likely give him the start against Leicester, right? But then depending on that performance, then you're not sure for the next game.
Yeah, that is very true. And then obviously the Europa will soon start from there on in as well. So, and Arsenal, yes, they don't blank in 28, but they don't double in 29. They play Leeds at home, I believe. It's probably a better fixture than Man City, who face Liverpool in 29. They also have a single game week. I think in future episodes we'll talk about if you're wildcarding in 27 or 29, like maybe what's the right number of Arsenal and City players? Like, do you sell them just because they have a single game week in 29 when they're both competing for a title? I don't know, but I've seen arguments for 1 City, 2 Arsenal. So, that's a big drop from where we were a few weeks ago, where it's like 6 of these assets all the way down to 3. And we're only 3-4 transfers away from that day. So it's kind of, things are going to start getting a bit crazy, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I'll turn attention to the data here. Arsenal 1.55 NetxG compared to Leicester 0.95. Arsenal's getting most of their production from like high XG chances. We've seen it, but it's the finishing that has been letting them down, and that's that dip in Nketiah's form.
Yeah, I would hold on to him. I've seen people sell him as well this week to try and like get to a different odds. So they're like, oh, I'm doing Nketiah to Darwin, and then I'm like doing Almiron. Or I've seen people sell Rashford for like Saka, and then do like Nketiah to Darwin, and I'm just like, you're selling Rashford. Like, he's in the top five most sold is Rashford. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important, that point you brought up of like, ask yourself don't just ask yourself who you need to buy, ask yourself who actually you're going to sell. But the fact that, a finisher like Nketiah, that he goes through spells, right? He's still young, but we know he can finish. He's been doing it for several weeks since the World Cup, right? So the fact that he's still getting these high XG chances, and just for people watching on the show, it's if you go to NetxG, the Arsenal says 1.55, then the creativity is 1.49, and then the expected, these are the metrics that compose NetxG. So the expected data metric is 1.71, which is really quite high. And then the shots metric is lower, right? 1.54. So it's the shots and the creativity. It's not a lot of chances, it's high quality chances. And then you combine high quality chances with the good shots, and that equals goals. So I expect that to change. And then don't sleep on the goalkeeper away. Ramsdale away had pretty good form. The FDR, I think, disagrees a little bit. It's only 0.4 attack for Arsenal, which I find really interesting. I'm not sure why it's so low. I have to ask Mariner that.
Yeah, because I guess it would be last 6, but I know Leicester have been more free scoring, but they don't exactly have the greatest defense, as we've seen. Against United, they started very strong and didn't take their chances and just got completely dominated by the end of that game. But to start with, they were looking great attacking wise and just didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, and then the other thing is like look at the shots goal predictor there. There's like a 1 in 7 chance Arsenal score 4 or more goals.
I don't think you see that often, right? Like I don't really see
14%
over 10%. Yeah, I never really
so
see over
high.
10% there for 4+ goals. That is a bit crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy. So this could be a rout.
So this is where captaincy considerations might have to be coming into this. It's like, so maybe the only world in which you can optimize your right Arsenal asset is if you're looking to captain one of them and you don't have the one you want to captain that you think is going to get the most points this week from all the Arsenal players. So if you're going to be captaining, say, like a Liverpool asset, like a Mo Salah, then that probably isn't a priority to be optimizing which Arsenal assets you own this week.
Yeah, but I mean, it's maybe you should rethink who you're captaining if you're going in that direction. Podna says that Arsenal attack away are not good, but all of this data factors in home and away. So I don't
I
know
think that's
that
why it's minus 1.8 for sorry, for minus, but that's why it's only 0.4 for Arsenal. I think Mariner has said this before. Whenever I've seen Arsenal away on his FDR, it generally seems to disagree with your NetxG slightly, whereas your NetxG is like giving Arsenal kind of more credibility. You're
no,
trusting them.
yeah, but that is interesting. My metric does trust Arsenal more than Mariners metric in general.
Yeah.
And my metric trusts Spurs less.
Yeah,
So my
there's definitely
bias is like
something there.
fully into the metrics for sure. But
Yeah,
there's
for
no
anyone who
question
didn't know
about that.
that, yeah, for anyone who didn't know that, that is definitely a fact. I promise you. I've seen it week in, week out. Those two matchups are always disagreeing.
That's all happens all the time. But NetxG factors in home and away as well. So it's not just home and away. It's the way we treat the different metrics treat the data. I mean, it's not just 14% chance of 4 more goals. It's 35% chance of 3 or more goals.
Yeah,
Like a 1 in 3
you don't see that
chance of
often.
3 or more goals. And that's the reason on my free hit. And I guess we don't have I don't have my draft up. I can go over it at the end, but suffice to say, I don't have any Arsenal defense.
Yeah, no, I think I would be going that same way
I
if I
have
could.
3 attackers because of this data.
I'm excited to see the second matchup as well. Obviously, the other Arsenal game,
Yeah.
home to Everton. That will be a grudge match for certain after what they did a couple weeks ago. Let's go to West Ham Forest quickly. Don't think there's too much to write home about here, apart from that West Ham have a pretty tasty double game week in 29. It was 2 home fixtures for one. It's Southampton home, Newcastle home. Obviously, it's not the greatest fixture. Still at home though. Now, any chance you would go for like a Jarrow Bowen this early for 29, or is it just because we know they're going to blank 28 as well? It's like West Ham are off your radar until 29. Like you're just not going to go there.
Yeah, for free transfers or off the radar. For people on free hit, I think he's definitely a consideration. So West Ham home, Nottingham Forest with or West Ham 1.47 net XG compared to Forest 0.58. Forest minus 2.4 FDR compared to West Ham 1.1. So the metrics are fully in agreement here. Let's see, Forest away, the goalkeeper role away has been diminished. Not as good as, and their defense in general is not as good as their defense at home. Look at the West Ham creativity numbers though. The creativity metric next to the 1.47,
Yeah.
2.10.
Oh, damn, yeah. Okay, so that's that's even higher than like the ones we saw from teams like Arsenal.
That might be, I'll look here really quickly. That might be the highest of the week, and that's a function of Forest away. And the fact that West Ham are changing. They've played three of the back the past couple of game weeks. They're creating more chances. Emerson on the left-hand side is getting further forward, and he's helping out in that too. I know he had a goal a few weeks ago. Let me just look up the. I mean, that's the highest by far. The second highest. So that's 2.1 creativity metric, expected creativity from West Ham. The next highest is Manchester City at 1.63.
Okay, that is a big drop. 25% drop off.
Yeah. So then if you look at the zonal matchup there, you combine that with the zonal matchup, it does indicate a kind of like Bowen punt this week. And I'm right now Mahrez, I have Mahrez as my first sub, but it's between Mahrez and Bowen. I've gone both.
And one of them will play and one of them won't.
Like
or that spot is going to be one of them, so you're not going to have both.
That spot will be one of the two.
Okay.
So he probably won't start because I'm full of double game week players, and then the likes of who else? Poland, and that's it, I guess.
I think the single game, the free hits I've seen have like 8-9 doublers, and then like Holland and like one other non-double game weekend mainly.
Yeah, that's how mine would be as well. So that's shame I have to play 3 defenders, but then the breaks.
All-out attack would have been nice. So just Forest, obviously, I don't think people are buying their assets this week, but they also have one of the better double game weeks in 29. They're facing Wolves at home, Leeds away. I'm not sure who you would get from Forest. They have like 2-3 first teams worth of full of players. So, who do you get? Like Chris Wood came on the other day. He bagged the goal. You got like Emmanuel Dennis, from last year's Watford team. There's honestly, like, I remember Awanoyi, I had him in a draft league earlier this season. Like, there's just an abundance of assets in every position. So I know Morgan Gibbs-White was popular for a bit. Is there Brennan Johnson even? Like, is there anyone you would go for from their assets when we get to that double game week? Obviously, it's a bit early to commit, but just generally speaking, or do you think that they just share the minutes around too much?
Navas.
Keylor Navas in goal for the Wolves home, Leeds away. Yeah. Imagine that. Imagine on a free hit and he gets you like a 20-pointer.
Yeah, exactly. His points are what? 9, 1, 4. All right.
This is a
against
winner.
Leeds,
this is a big
Fulham,
winner, guy.
City.
Yeah, you could do it.
It's okay.
You could do it.
Yeah.
But no, I think I agree with Catherine. I think Brennan Johnson, I had him in Sky a few times when Forest had single game days. And it's just, I was burnt out watching him by the end of it. It made me just not want to watch Forest. But Forest are a much different team now since then. So obviously, I really want to thank them for their work last weekend. So I really appreciate it, Forest fans. Our clubs are forever aligned after that. Let's go to the next matchup. I think we focus on the ones where people either have assets or are selling them. So this is Bournemouth home versus Man City away. Obviously, City play tomorrow in the Champions League. We've had news that the likes of De Bruyne and Laporte have not flown for this Champions League tie. Sounds like they're just ill, though. So, no injuries or anything like that. Morris didn't come on. I had him in my team. He didn't come on for a minute when they weren't winning last game. That was very frustrating. But what do you think about the De Bruyne and Morris owners here? Like, I imagine for a lot of people, that's their exit plan to like a Salah or a Gakpo. So would you go for it despite the tasty fixture for City, knowing that kind of Champions League is either side and like there's going to be a lot more fixtures coming for City with the FA Cup that they're in as well? Like, do you hold on to them, or is it now is the time? Like, you just kind of you get out. They don't have a double in 29. They play Liverpool. They don't play in 28. This fixture is great, but like generally speaking, do you really need more than Haaland going past this week? Like, I can understand keeping them this week for Bournemouth, I would say, but I have no problem selling them apart from like Haaland's obviously the one you wouldn't sell. But this data here from your NetxG for City's attack away again doesn't fill me with that much confidence for keeping them this week. Maybe it's just better on paper.
Well, it's a couple of reasons, right? We look at Man City, Bournemouth 0.94, Man City 1.02. Last week against Forest, Man City had a lower NetxG than Bournemouth, and it kind of that not prediction, but that situation described kind of came to fruition when in that 1-1 against Forest. So going through the metrics here. We see that they're kind of hovering right around the like 1.5 mark. It's a 1.63 for creativity, 1.5 for expected data, and 1.64 for the shots metric. What's bringing it down is the goalkeeper Neto. Neto at home with a 0.57 goalkeeper metric really drags Manchester City down. And it was the same thing with Manchester City last week against Keylor Navas. So Manchester City, maybe they struggle against better goalkeepers, or maybe they have been struggling lately, let's put it that way, against better goalkeepers. And the reason for that could be kind of like Pep's shifting tactics. They don't have the tactics to break down teams enough to kind of give them the easy goals. So they're having to work a lot for their goals. So because of these reasons, even the FDR isn't super high. 1.6 for Man City isn't super high. Minus 1.8 for Bournemouth. They are taking more shots. We see the green there in the shots goal predictor. Even the 14% chance of 4 more goals as well. So they always have that in them because they have the shots, but the shots have not been on target because they've had when teams sit in a deep block, it's hard to get quality shots on target because there are so many bodies blocking, and that's where they've been struggling as well. So this could go either way. Man City could just
could be a rout. Yeah,
could be a rout. They could demolish them, and then nobody would be surprised. but I think it makes sense from a statistical perspective to sell those assets, certainly for double game week players.
Yeah, I think Holland isn't going anywhere, just the team value alone
No.
and the ownership for me. But, I'm a Mahrez owner. I'd love to see what he does tomorrow because, I know he's historically been like preferred to start most Champions League games. Foden's come back as well recently. I'm not so convinced about keeping him long term, and he is my exit route to like a Mo Salah. So I just think, although this fixture, I would have liked to keep a City player for it, double game week fever has hit me well and truly. So, like he's not playing in 28 either. Like I'm just gonna move on, get my Liverpool mid. Then we'll find out before the 26th deadline whether Liverpool play in 28 or not, and that might change things very quickly from whether then that Liverpool mid also gets moved on ASAP from there. But we'll see how that goes. I'm not too confident of Leeds knocking Fulham out of the cup away from home. I definitely think Fulham were probably the favourites in that match, but it would do me a big favour if Leeds did one and did their new manager proud and gave me 3 Liverpool assets who don't blank in 28. That would be epic because that's what I'm going to probably do. So yeah, I'm going to be moving from City to Liverpool as my conclusion. And yeah, I guess what about the defenders? That's kind of my only other questions. Like some people went for Aki or Akanji, they took that hit. They moved there in the last double game week for City. Since they were preferred by Pep, basically, like I'm just dumbfounded. Like they were basically playing all the time, and then bang, like Diaz comes straight back in. Laporte's rotating with Aki at left back, depending on the opponent. Rico Lewis as well. Some people have him. Is it just like you have to just go, like you just get out, like, or is it that what you said before, which is if you got 8 players, you're not fielding 11 players this week, maybe focus on selling the likes of your Almirons first or your Botmans first or your, trying to think who else there could be. Shaw, for example, like are these maybe more priorities? Because even if we don't think Akanji plays, Laporte's sick right now, so who knows what City's press is going to be like come Friday. Like maybe you just luck out and you get one fixture out of your City defender and then think about selling them later and focus on those who don't play this week.
Yeah, I think that's right. Focus on your starting 11 for this in a game week like this and kind of maximize opportunities. But City defenders I think they're more of a fire than Luke Shaw at this point. Just
okay, yeah.
Nobody knows what they're doing defensively. They blank in 28, like you said. So it's like there's not much upside there, and it's just loaded with risk and little upside.
I think one thing that's worth saying is I keep talking about teams that are going to definitely blank in 28, but that isn't guaranteed. There can be cup upsets, like random teams from lower leagues can knock out these Premier League teams from the cup. So I've just kind of assumed only one of the Liverpool, Fulham, or Wolves Leeds game will go ahead in 28, and that's the only other guaranteed fixture we're going to get. Because like one of those two is happening. So we know that there is at least one more fixture, but the others, they're like 99% blank, but that's not 100%. So don't come back in a few weeks and be like, Nima, you told me they blank and now City play in 28. Look at the odds on Ben Crellin's kind of odds of which teams are going to blank. And most teams are going to blank. So I'm comfortable enough moving them on just for doublers, basically. But yeah, let's go to the next game, I think. You are right. I think maybe City players are more of a fire in general. The defenders, at least, I mean. So it's just, even if they did start, are they going to get you the clean sheet? That's the question of the day. So really, why are you sitting there playing lineup roulette every week and stressing yourself out? So the other big double game week team we're all piling into, Liverpool away at Crystal Palace. I think the FDR here is a bit more positive from the attacking point of view than the NetxG, right? I'm just trying to see kind of, I guess they've got the shots on target perhaps, and the shots in the box are quite high up there for Liverpool. I don't know if maybe the goalkeeper from Palace again here is maybe dragging down the NetxG by 0.4. So, it would be 1.64, not 1.14 if it didn't weigh the goalkeeper so highly.
Yeah, and it's interesting. That's basically the difference. Oftentimes the disagreement in the metrics is because and I think that, I mean, from what I don't think people really see the goalkeeper, and goalkeepers do go in and out of form. So I do think that should be factored. But Yeah, Guaita has been good at home. The 0.4 goalkeeper metric here. But look at Liverpool's numbers. Even at 1.14, their creativity metric is 1.57, which is decent. Expected metrics is 1.47, which is a little less than the creativity metric. So they're creating like slightly more chances than quality, but it's roughly the same. And then the shots is right in there as well. I think the one thing I will say, and this is where the opportunity really shines for Liverpool, is the shots on target goal predictor at the bottom there is quite strong, and it hasn't been that way for Liverpool this season. This is new in the data. So it has whereas you often don't get any prediction for 3 or 4 goals like we see there with Crystal Palace if you have too small a sample size. For Liverpool, it's robust. It's 14% 3 goals, 4% for 4 or more goals. And if you look at the 14% chance of 3 goals from the shots on target model and compare it to the 16% from the shots model, they align. So that's probably like a solid percentage there, I would say. Say right around 15% chance of 3 goals. So that's like 1 in like 7.5 or something like that. Which is decent, and then maybe like a 1 in 3 chance of 2 goals, also very decent. So the shots models I think support Mariners,
the FDR, the attacking one.
But it's the goalkeeper, it's Guaita at home that's dragging it down. So it comes down to like what you think of Guaita. And for me, just like personally as a goalkeeper, I think he's a fine goalkeeper, but I don't think he's a difference maker. So I would use my eye test here to qualify that goalkeeper metric and say, I don't think Guaita is going to be the major difference here. I think the major difference is going to be just whether Liverpool are clinical, just whether their shots are on target. If their shots are on target, they're going to score some goals, I think.
And I think just in terms of obviously they're kicking off.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say they're kicking off tonight, and obviously we've seen Darwin was a bit of an injury doubt. He is starting, so that's just some news out there. And I know you said that kind of shows you that he's perhaps in a more able state than Jota is right now. I know he was a punt we were both interested by in Game of 25, but I do think maybe it's come too soon for him. And both him and Firmino, it feels like, having spoken to some Liverpool fans and reading between the lines of Klopp's pressers, that they are going to be kind of getting bedded in with minutes here and there, and there isn't like a rush to bring them in. So I think at least for this double, Darwin is very tempting. But again, without a free hit, he does probably become a problem once everyone's ready to get minutes in that attack. And, Diaz was spotted back at, on the grass as well. So there's even other attackers who haven't even returned to team training yet on their way. So, yeah, you got to think to yourself, there's kind of the Darwin Gakpo position. We're going to have Jota and Diaz there soon competing as well. And Firmino, that's 5, that's a lot of players for 2 spots. So yeah, that's just worth thinking about. I think the likes of Gakpo and Darwin, I'm not sure how solid they are long term. And even if they don't blank in 28, are they going to be the one that starts that week? So that is something that gives me a bit of caution. It does worry me a bit thinking about that not being on a free hit. Like, do I really want to go there? Do I want to get these guys and then have another fight to deal with between a blank double? So it does feel like I might be causing myself issues long term. For you, though, this data and the kind of the injury and fitness updates across that squad's attack, it does feel like crazy not to go for him now. I know you would have preferred Jota, but it just
obviously it's no secret.
You definitely would have preferred someone who is like considerably more likely to get his shots on target. But yeah,
right. My thoughts on Darwin are no secret. That's for sure. But yeah, but I think that because of that reason that you mentioned, it makes sense. Like if you're not on free hit, it makes sense to get like a Trent or something like that. Even though I do think like this data is mostly with Palace playing without Eze. Eze has been starting to work back into the side, and he's gained some form as well. So if Eze plays, I think Palace's creativity numbers, certainly at home, really change. And so I do think I think Palace get one on Liverpool here. I think they score. Especially if Eze starts.
That does worry me a bit. And obviously the FDR as well. If you look at Liverpool, from a defensive point of view, it is minus 1.4. So that would suggest a match with your thinking. I'd love to see their next game, but again, it doesn't make me feel too filled with excitement if their next game's kind of numbers defensively are just as bad as this to then go and get Trent.
Right, but if you don't want to take that risk on a Darwin or a Gakpo that you think could be rotated, right? Then and you're
Yeah,
looking for a reason to like justify that, to justify Trent. The
that's where
reason
it's
to justify it to justify Trent. Well, first of all, you don't get Trent for the clean sheets. We all know that.
that's true. Yeah,
But you still want a chance at a clean sheet. Obviously, you get him for the attacking returns, which definitely could happen here, despite the zonal matchups not exactly lining up. But look at the shots models there. They both predict roughly a 50 some% chance of a clean sheet for Liverpool.
yeah.
So
No,
if you want
actually.
a reason to get a Liverpool defense, and there are reasons, I would go to the shots model, and I would use that as a reason to justify.
Yeah, 52% is pretty strong on the shots goal
it's high.
predictor and 55% on the shots on target goal
Again
predictor.
without Eze.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very
Eze
good
could
point.
change things. Yeah.
Is there any thoughts on Gakpo before we go to the next matchup? Obviously, he's been starting. He's starting again tonight. He has been getting a few returns, ticking along at just 8 million. He seems an option perhaps for people who can't get all the way to Salah or they don't want Salah long term. I know there's a lot of people who don't want to have too many premiums in their team. They don't see the value, for example. Is he a viable alternative for them, or do you think that it's more of like a double up situation? Like you'd be trying to get both Salah and Gakpo if you could.
I mean, again, it depends on your situation, right? Like, do you want to be sitting there with like Darwin and Gakpo? Like, if you triple up, or say you can't get to Salah, but you can get to Darwin and Gakpo, or something like that, right? They both could be at risk. But what I will say is, right now, today in Champions League, hosting Real Madrid, Klopp is going to play his best team. This is the top team that's started, and Gakpo starting. So that's I think he's good. He's good for the double. I think Gakpo's
and I guess his versatility is another added bonus in that he can play as like a number 10, more of an attacking creative mid. He can play, anywhere in the front three. So just because someone else comes in and takes one of the front three spots doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be him who gets dropped. It could actually be Darwin who gets dropped, right? Like we don't know. So it's easy to think Gakpo is the one that misses out, but it's not necessarily. So Tottenham and Chelsea, a lot of Harry Kane owners in here. They're thinking about, maybe moving him on. It would have seemed wild to do that considering how consistent he is. But equally, I look at him and I've not, I see consistent points returns. I don't see significant hauls, to be perfectly honest. And, we insult the likes of De Bruyne and Salah in recent weeks for not returning for their value. But is this an opportunity in a tough game against Chelsea to just, move on and get to a double game week like a Darwin? And is that, especially if that gets you like a Trent, because that's the thing. I could just get like Salah and Tarkowski, or I could use the Kane money to get Darwin and Trent alongside Salah. So it's like, do I go one deep into Liverpool or triple deep into Liverpool? It's a big conundrum I'm having now. And lots of people don't want to sell Kane, but I've seen Spurs fans who are looking to move him on themselves. And it's nothing wrong with him. My main reasoning was the lack of Bentancur, and obviously he's going to be out for the rest of the season, it sounded like. So I just feel they don't function as much. And I know Kane can score any time and stuff, but I'm pretty sure he's had like one shot on target in the last 2 games combined. So for me personally, like I'm just not seeing like the volume of chances. Like, yes, when he gets them, he will score, and I get he's on penalties, but he's a pretty expensive asset. And having him, Haaland, and then another premium is really limiting my flexibility with these doubles and blanks coming. So I kind of was wedded to the idea of not selling him, but I'm now getting around to that way of thinking that, yes, he'll get some points when I sell him, but I think I can cover it with the 2 assets I will get with that money rather than just having him. It's like having him and Andreas, or, having Gakpo and Darwin. It's like, do you want 4 fixtures from 2 players, or do you want 2 fixtures from Andreas and Kane? Like, I just think that there is an opportunity there to be aggressive, and I'm willing to take it, I think. But I'd love to know what guys in the chat think. I know some of you love Kane, like you would never sell him. You're keeping him all season, but let us know what you think while Gabe takes us through the numbers and whether they support my decision to get rid of him.
Yeah, I'm just looking here because, wow, that's really surprising. Joe Gomez is starting with Matip on the bench. Matip has been in pretty poor form recently, so General Zod brings this to our attention here. He says Gomez starting suggests that he's ahead of Matip too. And yeah, I think it'll depend on if Gomez performs tonight. I think he could jump Matip because Matip has not been playing well.
4.3 million as well for Gomez, just to put that out there.
4.3 million. All of a sudden, a Liverpool defender makes some sense. Let's see, Liverpool defender or Everton defender. I don't know. But to get to this matchup, I mean, in the last 6 game weeks, Kane has 0 hauls. So he's basically a 12 million Ederson.
Well, I'd say he's getting like Saka returns, but Saka costs 8 mil. So
Really?
it's like 4 million less. Because if you look at Saka, like in individual matches rather than maybe double game weeks, if you just look at that individual fixture returns, it's like 6, 8, you know, a 2 and 8. Like
Kane is like 5 to 8, and Saka's, or let's say 2 to 8, and Saka is like 5 to 9. So it's a little bit better for 50% of the price extra, right? So I think Kane is such an easy sell, especially in a game week like this when you have some forwards.
By the way, Darwin Núñez has just scored against your beloved Real Madrid. I'm so sorry to tell you that. But I just have a feeling that Kane to Darwin conversation we're having right now is going to start heating the fuck up when the Champions League ends tonight. I better be checking these prices, boy, because people are going nuts in that market already. I'm seeing some early moves.
It's happening right now as we speak. The Darwin-o-meter is like off the hook. It's like
he might go off injured for the rest of the season in 10 minutes time, but they're buying him now.
They're buying him now,
no price change in the next 10 minutes.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe there was a VAR. Maybe they're calling it back.
Yeah, exactly.
No, already 2 minutes have gone by, so it's a goal. Damn it, that sucks.
So we got just Val. I'll just read out his transfers. So he's doing Perisic and Kane to Trent and Darwin.
Easy.
I like that, especially if it's 2 free transfers. I would be all over that, mate. And yeah, we are still starring your questions, guys. We will come to most of them. So I've got Catherine as well, just saying she's thinking about selling Kane, but it makes her sad. And I think Claire also is another fellow Kane lover, and it is tough to get rid of him. How consistent he is, but I think it's just I'm now seeing that consistency as a negative, if you get me, because it's a good reason to hold him and not be open-minded about the flexibility and strengthening of the rest of my team I could do. If he was blanking every week, I would have been like, yeah, great, he's an easy sell. But he puts us in this predicament, Catherine, where like he does get enough points to be like, yeah, I'll just keep him. Like he's not a fire, he gets points, but it's not that he's a fire, it's what he's maybe blocking from the rest of my opportunities.
That's the fire,
yeah. I think that's where it becomes an issue, and that's where I'm much more open-minded about moving him on. Anything about Chelsea defensively this game week, because a lot of us are being forced to play Kepa. I also have Reece James. Maybe he finally makes the squad this time. Thank God they didn't keep the clean sheet last week, because I would have blown a fuse. It's like 59th minute sub when I had him. They keep a clean sheet. Then he, is not even in the squad. He probably plays Champions League tomorrow.
It's the Reece James experience.
It's like you go into it knowing that this is going to happen. Like if you aren't expecting this and you bought Reece James like last week, like some people did, because he was one of the top most transferred in players, which is wild, and he didn't even make the squad. Yeah, I knew this. I've had this guy since like the restart almost. So like he's just there. I just know that once or twice a season I might get a random 18 pointer, and the rest of the season I'm gonna have to play some bench fodder because he's just not going to be available for me. I'm going to hold on to him because, again, he doesn't blank in 28 either. So if I'm not going to use a chip that week, that kind of James Kepa double up, imagine this was I sell Kane, it's a 0-0, or Chelsea win 1-0 somehow. I don't know how they score, but if they did. And I'm sitting there with 2 clean sheets from Chelsea defenders in a week when everyone's piled in on doublers. So I'm really praying for this clean sheet, but I don't think the numbers really support it too much.
No, I mean, not really, because the headed matchups look quite strong for Spurs. So I think that's where you're scared if you're thinking of selling Kane. 3.4 for the headed matchups here, in that metric. 1.6 the FDR, positive 1.6, negative 1.4 for Chelsea, which makes sense. You can see that. NetxG kind of agrees, 1.18 for Spurs and 0.62 for Chelsea. What can you say? Spurs are still not, their creativity is not leading to a lot of shots, right? Kane is dropping the center mid because Spurs can't progress the ball beyond their defensive midfield line because Bentancur is out. The shots models don't really like them that much. They like, a 1-1, maybe 2-1 in either direction would be would be acceptable here. So I don't know. It's all pretty muted. It's really you're hanging your hat on the headed matchups with Kane, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea score here, to be perfectly honest. And you know, I called for Joao Felix last week. Didn't come, you know, nothing materialized against Southampton. But I think this is the type of game that Joao Felix could really come through that weak central midfield area. If the forward, whoever that is, and I still think Conte is playing the wrong formation, but that's another story. Kane should be at the 10, Richarlison should be at the 9, and then you have Kulusevski at the 7 and Son at the 11. It's so easy to fit 4 of them in if you play a 4-2-3-1. But anyway,
you block yourself out in the kind of the back 3-back-5 formation. Yeah,
3 at the back. You have Kulusevski playing friggin', or like even in a 3-4-3, you then Richarlison misses out, right? And you need the pressure from Richarlison because you're not, and you need the movement from Richarlison because you're not getting the ball forward. But anyway,
it should be an exciting match, I think, for the neutrals anyway. Yeah, it's definitely one that we're all going to potentially have vested interest in, and it should just be a good game of football against 2 teams who are, you know, both going to be fighting for that top 4 coming in the season. Maybe not Chelsea so much, but you can never rule it out. There's like 15 games to go. You know, Newcastle have been dropping some points. I know they've only lost once, but they do draw a lot, and also struggle to score sometimes. So,
I mean, make no mistake, it'll be an exciting game, but it'll be a bad game of football.
Oh yeah, it would be like a very high energy and very low quality.
And very low quality, exactly.
Yeah. I think we agree on that one. We'll come back to see if this bites us when we both get clipped mocking the game and it ends into a thriller, 4-3 thriller. All right, Arsenal-Everton then. So we'll look at the last couple of fixtures. These are the double game week ones, obviously. Arsenal at home against Everton. Damn, the attacking FDR here, 3.5 for Arsenal, 2.1 defensively, 11.1 shots in the box, only 2.7 for big chances. It's not huge. Shots on target, 4.4. Headed matchups, 3.4. This looks like a pretty good fixture for them, I would say, from an FDR point of view. Like, I'd say it's definitely better than Mariners metric thought when Arsenal were away from home in the last game against Leicester. So this is probably the better game for them on paper. The Everton's numbers here, especially for Everton defenders, with your triple up on free hit, that minus 3.5 isn't too appealing on the defensive FTR, I must say. And the minus 2.1 definitely puts me off the idea of any Everton midfielders or attackers, because Everton's FDR from attack point of view hasn't looked great in either game. So I definitely think with Everton, it's kind of like just getting that defensive asset, that cheap defensive asset that doesn't blanket 28 and is an enabler to bring in other big double game weekers. I think that's the way I look at Everton. With Arsenal, this is just, again, like, does this build the case for maybe an Arsenal captaincy when we look at this plus the other game?
Yeah, I mean, well, firstly, I just want to mention I'm noticing a mistake there in the expected goalkeeper metrics. I think that's pulling from somewhere else. So I'll go back and check that. So ignore those numbers. It's not 3.42 or 3.67 or 0.83 or anything like that.
Okay, also that's maybe part of like, the Arsenal one. Yeah, the Everton one, the 0.83. That's still pretty good for Pickford.
Even those are really, those numbers are way too high. So
they're very high.
Ignore them altogether. Ignore those altogether for sure.
So definitely look at the FDR, which is lucky that's the one I read out then to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'd read out the NetxG, they would have digested all that information, and then we were just about to tell them how they should ignore what they're hearing or seeing.
They'd have to regurgitate it after digesting it. So, I mean, all the data points towards Arsenal. You can see why, but again, I don't think that the data has caught up with Dyche yet. I'm surprised that the Everton Villa matchup, as far as the FDR goes, is so muted. But here, this one, it's probably because it's away. Everton away, they are different than at home. But I think they've only played one away game under Dyche.
Yeah.
Is that right? And that was hold on, I'm gonna bring them up here because I think that was a more difficult one. Was that against Liverpool, right?
Yeah, the Merseyside derby. Yeah, you're right.
So the Dyche away data is just against Liverpool.
That's all there is.
That's all. So that's all we have. So I would
probably a bit low as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I would brutalized. I take the data a little bit with a grain of salt.
Maybe this is where the eye test will come in. Like, is there anything you see tactically here where Obviously, it's the grudge match. It's just a few weeks later. You know, Dyche's first game in charge. He came. He took those points from Arsenal in his relegation battle. Are they going to have enough, you know, at the Emirates? Because one of the things I noticed, and I don't want to sound all conspiracy theorist, like this is just a legit thing. Like what people choose to believe of it is their own thinking. But, you know, Dyche did dry that pitch. Like, that pitch was dry as fuck at Goodison Park. And, you know, that impacts both teams. That's why I said it's not a conspiracy theory. Like, that obviously impacts both teams' ability to play. But which team plays fast 1-2 passes and like needs the ball to move on the cross smoothly and quickly for their style?
Yeah.
I know it's definitely not Everton, it's Arsenal. So I think coming to the Emirates, we've got a wider pitch. We can maximize that space. If they're doubling up on us on the wings, if they're trying to block our overloads in the middle, there is just more width and more space. This is the pitch that we play on. And I think we've lost one game at home. Oh, Salah goal now. Damn, everyone's going to be piling in on Salah and Darwin. This is shit. KDB, goodbye. Mahrez, goodbye. Kane, goodbye. Everyone, goodbye. It's quite fun being live on air, but we will try to wrap up after the last matchup. So
yeah, but we got to wrap up quickly because we know what's going to happen in the 80th minute. My boys.
It's going to be the big comeback. Benzema hat trick, 3-2.
Come on.
We're calling it here now.
2 pens, friggin'
couple Vinicius assists.
Darwin gets a red card. It's going to be amazing. It's
going to be incredible. It's the blockbuster.
But the reason I like Pickford is because of the shots. Mm-hmm. Strong shots goal predictor, and that I made him. That's on the shots on target goal predictor. It's just that it was I needed to adjust those cells. Those cells are too small, so it didn't show the percent chance of 2, 3, and 4 goals there for Arsenal. But they are just slightly lower than the shots. But I agree with you. Playing at home, wider pitch, and do you think that is the pitch at home going to be dry, Nemo?
Oh no! Like I think it's being watered every hour between now and Saturday, Sunday.
So fast.
The ball zips around that pitch here because whenever I've gone to the Emirates this season, like one of the seats I get to sit in is more of a bird's eye view, so it gives you a bit more tactical view. And I'm not a tactician like you, but it's made me enjoy watching the game more than because obviously at home the camera angles just focus on really where the ball is. You don't get to watch what the Arsenal players are doing off camera and off ball. And just being there, it's honestly so exciting seeing how we use that pitch, how we maximize it. And it really is becoming a fortress. The crowd are like a 12th man as well. I know the Emirates was historically a library. We all laughed about it. It's very different this season. There's just a different energy. And, you know, every time I've been there and an opponent has scored, I think you hear the opposition fans celebrating for about 10 seconds. And once that shock has gone, the entire Emirates erupts into a roar backing the team again to come back. So I think that just gives them that belief. The way they came back last week as well against Villa, this is their chance to just now try and use that as a pivotal moment that they will look back on in years to come. It's like that match against Villa, that comeback, that just the way it all happened. I just think this can be the beginning of like coming out of this rut that we've been in over the last 4 or 5 games. So I have high hopes for both this Leicester away and Everton game. It's just honestly, I don't know. My difficulty now is do I captain Saka or do I captain a Liverpool player? I think that's where we're about to get to soon as well.
We will get to that. And here's the case for Saka. Look at Mariners metrics here: 3.5 for Arsenal, minus 2.1 for Everton, and then the zonals: 2.3 on the left, 3.4 down the center. Hello, Nketiah and Odegaard. And 3.7, the best zonal matchup of the game week, is on that right-hand side against Everton. In this match for Saka. And then add that to the Leicester match, where Saka's going to be up against, it's Leicester, right? It's against Mikolenko. Saka, I mean, I think the data, the data is not confusing. The data points to Arsenal, for sure.
Which are see where they actually rank when we get to the captaincy metric.
Exactly.
So let's just quickly rattle through the last double game week fixture, which is Liverpool versus Wolves.
I just want to, we have someone. So Val comes in saying Liverpool easy win UCL against Madrid. Obviously, Val, you haven't watched Madrid in the Champions League ever because Chelsea have said this. There's so many teams that have said this. It's the first half. If you watch Madrid, you know we don't play in the first half. Just
it sounds like Tottenham in the league this season. They just started in the second half. they just erupt out of nowhere and start like attacking again.
Yeah,
But I know, I think it's like you just don't like the comparison of your beloved Madrid to Tottenham. I know it took you
no, that makes
a moment.
me a little bit
You were like, is
uncomfortable.
this
Like,
an
wait a minute.
insult? You were like, wait, is this an insult or is it a fair comparison?
I'm going to let it slide just in the interest of time.
Cool. All right, so Liverpool versus Wolves. This is again, it's great, isn't it, for Liverpool from an attacking FDR point of view? It's 2.7, defensively 0.6, which is a lot more promising than the first Liverpool game anyway, which was like minus 2 point something for them. Zonally on the right, 3.1 is the best matchup from the Liverpool side. So again, Salah's side, 2.8, Darwin Nunez against, not bad there, 10.1 shots in the box. I think the FDR definitely points to Liverpool victory here. But your shots kind of goal predictors looking pretty good as well, right? 18% free goals, 10% 4+, 29% 2. Like, these are very good odds. And I guess just from a clean sheet point of view, right? We got 53% chance of 0 goals from a Wolves on shots on goal predictor and 44% chance of no goals. So it's again, it's 2 games where Liverpool are close to 50% clean sheet odd. Even though we think that their opponents might score, this is the game where they're even less likely to score. Like if there was going to be a game they keep a clean sheet in, I think this is probably the one at Anfield versus Wolves.
Yeah, I agree. And what the matchup I like here, it's 1.37 NetxG for Liverpool and 0.53 for Wolves. But the matchup that I like for Liverpool is a shots in the box matchup. 10.1 shots in the box for Liverpool. So I mean, it's just about the finishing. But that if they get 10 shots in the box against Wolves, it's definitely a multiple goal game. If they and given that they are, there we go, Madrid goal. How come no one's shouting the Madrid goal? No one's.
No, I'm putting it on the screen. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you. See, I love Claire. There we go, Tinkers. There we go. With my people.
There we go. Good thing I've got Vinicius in my Champions League fantasy team. It's always good to have him in my team.
Did you captain a Real Madrid player? Did you captain a Napoli player?
Napoli.
Napoli attack is amazing. They're awesome. I love them.
That's the thing. I know a few guys who are more into their Italian football, and they've been talking about Napoli's attack this season. They're like, look, if you've not been watching them in their league, make sure you check their Champions League because like these guys are playing incredibly this year.
It's insane. So Napoli are my they're my Italian team. If I were to have one, it would be Napoli because I grew up with Maradona. So but yeah, Napoli scoring so many friggin' goals. It's amazing. They're a lot of fun to watch. But back to this one, Liverpool Wolves. I mean, so Darwin. This one actually doesn't line up for Darwin because he would be on the left.
Okay.
And then what I would wonder is I know it's Jota's closer than Firmino, so I don't think Firmino will take time from Gakpo. Jota could take time from either Gakpo or Darwin, right? Because he can play in either one of those positions, and I think it'll be more like Jota taking time from both. But I don't think Jota or Firmino will start, given recent form and recent starts and what's happening in the Champions League, barring injury, of course. So for those on free hit, I think the information we've gotten today is that Gakpo and Darwin are probably pretty nailed on, famous last words, for this double game week.
Just for the double game week, yeah, just for the double game week. I think just on Wolves as well, like obviously Bueno is like me. I'm starting to question whether I even want him to get a start in a game like this because this screams negative points to me. I think I'd rather he subbed on in the 45th minute and got a cheeky assist or something. That's probably my best hope here with him. And maybe he starts the first game, that Wolves first game on Friday night, isn't it?
If
Fulham.
Say it's whatever 4-0, right? And there's so the FPL defenders would have a -2, right? So they'd be
it must be on 0-0.
Right, but
then they'll probably
does a player that gets subbed in, then those 2 goals don't count towards them,
exactly.
Right?
So the first few that have been scored, if it's like already 3 goals, when they score the 4th, it will be only 1 goal against him, so he won't get the minus yet.
Yeah. So you still.
I love when I say when it's 3 goals and it's going to become 4. We're so convinced this is going to be a wrap, which is why it's making it difficult for me to pick my captain between this.
Yeah, this is the one that makes it difficult.
Cool. Let's go to the this is just a matchup summary. Obviously, the guys can come back to check this from the podcast, 1 hour 19, but it's basically everything we've discussed so far. So I'm not gonna
Just
talk through
should we
too
go over
much.
like just the highs and lows?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so just the highs for Game Week 25, the best attacks according to the FDR are Arsenal 3.5, Liverpool 2.7, and remember those are aggregate of both those fixtures. And then third, oh no, it's not aggregate, is it? No, those are per the match. So Liverpool against Wolves at 2.7, then Liverpool against Palace at 2.0. Those are the top three. The bottom three, who cares? Top three defensive matchups. West Ham 2.4, and SoFal is in like all the models. Say to bring SoFal into into your wild card. So SoFal's in my wild card. He's on the bench, but he's in there. Next up we have
on your free hit. Just
on my free hit. To clarify, yes. Next best defensive one is Arsenal home to Everton 2.1, and then we have a tie Man City away to Bournemouth 1.8, and Everton Villa 1.8.
I think there's Arsenal Leicester as well 1.8.
So Arsenal Leicester 1.8 as well.
So these aren't bad. So Arsenal and Liverpool looking all right here. I'm getting excited. This is the game week I've been waiting for. It's going
to be a fun one. Yeah, for sure.
We need it after the last game week. It was one of those kind of not to write home about. Most assets either didn't play, didn't get minutes, or blanked. It wasn't the most exciting game week, that's for sure.
For the more detailed ones, you please come back and look at come to the YouTube and check out the image for all the details, the zonals and the individual shots on target or shots in the box and stuff, and those matchups.
And then 1 out of 21 if you're on the pod for the NetxG summary as well of game week 25.
Right on.
Cool. So
I won't go through this. We've
covered this.
Each of the matchups, we covered it.
Cool. So I'll just do the captaincy metric jingle. But before that, if you found the show entertaining, if you've had some good laughs along the way with us, please do hit that like button. We really do appreciate that, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. But otherwise, let's go straight to the captaincy for double blank game week 25. Your defense is in trouble, and Nketiah is in the room. Your defense is in trouble, and Nketiah is in the room. I'm not going to try and sing it with the Afrobeats accent, but at least I got the lyrics right, I think.
That was a good little jam there. I enjoyed that. I don't know the songs. I don't know the songs.
It's like a proper legit. So this isn't even our song. I think it's like a legit music track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this isn't even like a fan song. This is like a straight up music track.
That's amazing. That's I know, like there are some footballers like Felix Agu that have their own rap and stuff like that. So
when I saw that, I was shocked. Like, he's actually
Felix
a rapper.
Agu, Felix, it's good.
Oh, I love it. So for anyone on podcast, Nketiah is top of the captaincy metric with 90. Kroos is second with 89. Salah is third with 86. Odegaard is there at fourth on 84. Darwin on 82. Gakpo on 82. Bowen sneaks in here ahead of Haaland as the first single game weeker that we see for the captaincy metric this week on 81. And Haaland is there on 79. Kane on 79. With the likes of Trent, Martinelli, Mahrez, and De Bruyne filling in at the bottom to 75. So I think really it's probably just the Liverpool and Arsenal players I'm considering captaining. I know kind of Haaland against Bournemouth is something that you would probably want to do sometimes, but as we saw last week, that EO fear that blocked me from going Rashford, even though the metric put Rashford at the top, those who did go Rashford, those who, especially the haulers who tweeted since and said they went Rashford, kudos to you, because you went with what on paper was the best captaincy that week, and you didn't let the kind of Haaland EO blinker you. So I'm not going to be looking for a single game week this week. That's my conclusion. It's definitely one of these Arsenal or Liverpool assets. But I'm interested to know, how has Nketiah kind of snuck in to 90 ahead of Saka at 89 and Salah there on 86? I think those are the three that I'm most interested in, like, we start deep diving into.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it is quite the surprise to see Nketiah up there since his finishing has been so poor recently. But yeah, shout out especially to IBK. He's at official _IBK on Twitter. So he holds a lot of FPL spaces.
He's always on there. Yeah, he does a lot for the community.
And he runs them really well. It's a nice chat. But he was talking Net That Haul big time before the game week. He said he was going with the metric. He talked up all of our content and our metrics. So big ups to him. Thank you for that. And it paid off for him. So kudos to him, and not kudos to us. He's more loyal to the show and our content than we are, I guess. It's just messed up.
Yeah, it is.
But
Honestly, I'm so jealous. That was a huge gain. But that
huge
shows that
game, me
there are
too.
opportunities to do it. And if there's a week to do it, it's the week where Haaland is not doubling, surely. So I just feel this time I'm definitely going to go against him. And maybe this is the week he gets a hat trick. But oh well. Like I'm not going to think about that. I just want to have fun again.
Here's
I just want to bloody enjoy FPL again.
so here's what's pulling Nketiah slightly above Saka, and that's the haul in game week 21 against United, which Saka does not have. Saka has no hauls
Was
in the
that a
past
brace?
6 game weeks.
Was that
Yeah,
a
it
brace
was a
for
brace.
Nketiah?
It was a brace, 13 points. And if you look at the haul part of the percentile there, Nketiah 69th percentile with that one haul, and Saka 0 haul, so he's his second percentile. So it's kind of like, how much are you going to weight that one haul? Maybe it's being weighted a little bit too much, given
I
that
think
Saka's
it
on
is.
penalties,
I think
given
it
that
is being weighted
zonal
too high.
matchup, Saka deserves to be top. I think Mariner would probably agree.
Yeah, I would agree as well. And just from a kind of my perspective as an Arsenal fan, I think the thing with Eddie is like when he first started after the World Cup, and obviously we were worried whether he could fill in Jesus's boots, and he did. He did a great job, especially against United and Spurs. He looked fantastic. He was doing it all. The thing is, Eddie has barely played like senior football 90 minutes a week, let alone now where we've got to a scenario where it's 3 times a week and he's been doing it. He even played the 90 minutes in the cup against Oxford, for example, one of the few first teamers to do that. So I just think with Nketiah, what maybe the data doesn't show, and why I don't put too much weight on that haul originally, is that just from my eye test point of view, he does look considerably different to the Nketiah against United. Like it has changed a bit. And I think part of that is to do with the fact that he's a young man. It's the first time he's playing this often, this regularly. And then the mental fatigue. It's not just like he's playing often in a team trying to challenge for the title. So I just think that mental fatigue, the physical fatigue, I think it's been a lot. And, he could have hauled. Like in some of these games, he hit the crossbar. He did a great header. I know people wanted the Ben White assist, and they say, how did he miss? But I think he got very high. It was a very difficult shot to head, and he hit the post. It's unfortunate. Now, there was other games as well recently where he could have scored. So I do think like an explosion is coming, and I think this double game week, he's a great asset to have. I'm really happy I have him, but I just don't know if I'd be captaining him personally, because for me, Saka's like the Arsenal talisman, and he's the one that I'm looking to maybe captain if I go against Salah. So that's just my 2 cents. I just think prior to that penalty Saka took, we'd had one all season. We had the second most penalty area touches, and we had like the least penalties. And I think Liverpool had like 0 penalties. So I just think this is the week where Saka and Salah get some penalties again, and Liverpool and Arsenal get some penalties again. I just don't understand how you can be in the box more than any other team in the league and get 1 penalty. So I think that's just going to fix itself back up, hopefully.
Well, get fouled or draw the foul or
Yeah, so
dive.
Saka's too honest. Yeah, so they said this to Jesus. Jesus was really angry against Southampton when he got dragged down and they didn't give a penalty. And there's quotes. He said the ref told me after the game, like, maybe if you went down, I would have given you a penalty. And I'm like, wow, like he tried to stay up and get the shot off, and then like eventually got thrown to the floor. But because he tried to do the right thing, you won't give him the penalty. But then,
yes, but this is how it is. Like this shouldn't be a surprise. It's been
not
this
a
way
surprise.
since
Yeah,
I was 5 years old. That's been the case. So you get to the pros, you're a professional ball player. You can't be surprised that this is still happening. It's been happening since you were 5, dude.
And then, well, look at City, right? So they've had 7, 8 penalties. I mean, there was the De Bruyne one that I remember. There was the Grealish one. Like if they feel contact, they're down. And you got to give the referee a decision to make, right? That's essentially what you're saying.
That's how you play the game. Like that's how you should be taught this. Your coaches should be teaching you this. If you feel contact in the box, continue the way that contact went. If it hit you to the left, continue going to the left and go down. Just do that.
I remember Pochettino used to say, in fact, he when he was at Spurs, he really was big on this, and he said that in training, he basically teaches them the dark arts, or so-called dark arts. And I know that in South America as well, like this is a big part of the game. Like you got to be tactical about it. Like you're playing within the rules of the game, so you maximize your chance to win based on the rules that are given to you. Like you're not breaking the rules. You know that if the threshold for a penalty has gone up, if more contact is allowed these days, then you're going to have to give the referee a decision. So I do agree.
And then in games and in sports, there are safeguards for breaking the rules. They're called fouls. If you break the rules, you get a foul called against you. Big fucking deal. So break the rules if you need to. Like whatever you need to do, like just help your team win.
Yeah, I think that's what Poch used to say.
And in South America, if you don't do that, you're going to get bullied. I'll tell you that.
So we've got Claire saying she's looking to captain Saka this week, or does she dare to go Odegaard second week in a row? Val's talking about the Net That Haul captain Eddie Nketiah. I don't think I'll be going there myself for the reasons I said, but I do think he will haul. Who else are you guys going for? Tell us in the chat if the metric has kind of made you think about your decision, or if you were already set on it, and whether this has helped to validate that further. What about Salah then? Let's talk a little bit about him in and amongst this Saka and Nketiah group. So I think Salah, obviously, he's also only on 2 for haul percentile, which is the same as Saka, and that's what brings Nketiah up, as you say.
Yeah.
What else brings Salah down? I guess the returns, 67 instead of like 88 for Saka. 67 for points percentile as well instead of 88. And then I guess it's even the NetxG, he's only 93rd, was it 93rd, 95th percentile for NetxG?
And
it's
2-2, by the way. Vinicius Jr. with another goal.
2-2. Vinicius. Oh, wow. I should have captained Vinicius Jr.
Dude, I mean, I know my team.
You did say this like literally 10, 15 minutes ago. So you were spot on. But yeah, so it's like, I guess the question for me is like, Saka's already quite highly owned. And is it the case that because it's harder for people to get Salah into their team, is it that Saka, I'm just thinking from an ownership point of view, I know this shouldn't be the decision maker, but is it that we think that Saka will end up with the higher ownership come deadline? Or is it that KDB not flying with the squad will spook people, and now suddenly those who were going to hold on to him also pile into Salah? So where do we think it's going to land? Because Salah's ownership was fucking low before this game week. So no matter how many purchases he gets, he's going to need a lot of captains to overtake Saka, I think.
I mean, I have Salah at 25% owned right now. And I don't know, like you're the ownership guy. What do you expect it to be by the time the game week hits?
So Saka was already like over 50% EO last week.
Around your rank, right?
Yeah, around my rank. I'm checking because I've got the top 10K as well. So I think that's probably more useful than my rank.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at overall. It's not useful.
Yeah, I think overall 25 is way too high for Salah, because I remember when I looked at it, it was like 4 or 5%. Yeah, like Salah. So last week, Salah was 7% effective ownership against me, and Saka was 52% at my rank, but 65% in the top 10K. So we're talking about a player going from 65%, he's already got that ownership, versus 7%. So I do think that although they will be close, unless you see a huge swing in the transfers where Salah suddenly starts being brought in a lot more than Saka, I just don't see a world in which Salah's going to have the higher effective ownership this week, personally.
Right.
But that's just another factor to put in, because I know that's obviously something that doesn't show up in the metric. Other people want to go against EO. Some people want to go with it. So I think it's just worth bearing in mind if you want to play safer or more aggressively. So right now, Salah is actually on 224,000 transfers in, and Saka is on 206,000. So they're keeping pace. But if you end up in a scenario where Salah's on 1.5 million transfers in come Friday and Saka's only on 300,000, then maybe they've evened out a bit by then. So yeah, keep an eye on those transfers coming in. I think let's go to the questions and then we'll get out of here. So just quick thank you to all the haulers first. So the super haulers on YouTube, Harbour Boy, Daddy Bot, Greenback Golf, Tahar and Robbie. Our Patreons, Elron, Lucy and Gan, and then our haulers on YouTube, William, Tursk, Catherine, Dom, Claire, FPL DG Boy, Akshay, C Hunt, Lindsay, Davindra Raj, Fantasy Football Casuals, Lama, Tom Gorushk, Blonde, S. Scott as M, FPL Teacher, Oscar Arias, Donny FPL, FPL Mike Halpin, Kevin Rose, FPL Safa, Podner, FPL Craig, and Dread FPL. So thank you to all the haulers. If you want to support the channel and join our little community Discord and chat with the crew and get some of the data in advance of the show, do hit that YouTube membership button or Patreon if you're on podcast. We really support, appreciate all your support. But otherwise, let's go to all the questions we have. So I've got a few from throughout the show. So just a quick one. Osimhen has also scored for Napoli now. So that's just another quick update for anyone listening on podcast. So to timestamp this match for you. There's 2 questions from Discord that I'll take from the YouTube members, and then we'll do the 13 questions that we started in YouTube. So quick fire. So Dom Black Dragon Gabe. do you think that Salah is better than Trent? If you had to choose one of them, who would you go for? He already has Saka and he's not going to captain Salah. So he's basically saying, because I'm not going to captain Salah, I'm going to captain Saka. Is it better I get Trent than Salah? Because I have no intention of captaining Salah.
Right. No, I prefer Salah.
I think I also agree. I prefer him. Yeah, I just, yeah, I definitely do. I think I just go as aggressive as you can. And maybe you asked this question before his goal tonight as well against Real Madrid. So you might start to get spooked when you see like the bandwagon that's about to build just from that one goal. Because I'm telling you now, I'm looking at 1 million transfers income Friday when people log in for the first time in weeks and see there's a blank game week they didn't know about. And then they all start mass transferring them on work on Friday because someone said, oh yeah, like remember the work mini league? There's a blank game week. And then all the casuals everywhere are going to come flying in. So I do not want to be left behind that party. Jonathan Daddybot, 2 or 3 Liverpool and all attack ? So you're going to go for free and they're all attack, but that's on free hit. If someone wasn't on free hit, what would you think with their no guaranteed fixture in 28? Like, would you be going just for 2 instead of 3? Because that's where I'm at. Like, I could get just Salah, or I could get Salah and Trent, or I can go nuts and get Darwin in there too. So this question kind of applies to me too. So I'd love to know, if you were a non-free hitter, would it change your opinion? Because you said you don't trust them enough yet.
I think if I was a non-free hitter, I would probably bring 2 in. And I'd this week, if I wasn't free hitting this week, I'd be looking to maintain rank. So if you know, if you're not free hitting and you're looking to gain rank, you're going to try to bring 3 in, you're going to take hits. And then I think you're going to find yourself with some assets that you're going to need to move back out because of potential rotation or the fact that they blank or whatever. So, I think I would take it as it comes, like per your situation, whatever your team dictates. Make it easy on yourself.
I think it is very team specific, isn't it? So just going to pull up the game week fixtures because Akib's question from YouTube is the 34 double bigger than the 29 double. No, so 29 double will be the biggest of the season with 12 teams. The 34 double will probably be the second biggest, with the 37 double being the third biggest. So I think there's 8 fixtures that we expect to go between 34 and 37. And the reason I put this back up on the screen, Akib, is so you can pause here if you want after the show and just see what those likely, double game week fixtures in 34 are. But I think maybe the reason you're asking is for chip strategy. So my thoughts on that are that at the moment, I think there's 2 viable routes. And a lot of it will depend on if Liverpool play in 28. So you could go like triple Liverpool now if you want to be aggressive, like Gabe says, and just gain rank, but then you don't know what's going to happen next. Now, if Liverpool don't blank, I think you just ride through 27 and 28. You use transfers and hits, and then you could probably still free hit 29, wildcard in 33, bench boost in 34, because I think 34 will be big enough for a bench boost. Equally, if Liverpool don't play and you've then gone all 3 of them, that's where you might be tempted to actually wildcard in 27, get players from the teams like Brentford and Brighton who double in 27 and 29, but blank in 28, more importantly, free hit in 28, and then bench boost in 29. The reason I don't like that route personally is there is 3 weeks between game week 27 wildcard and 29 bench boost, including a 2-week international break. So for me, I just feel like it's going to go wrong for me. Whoever I buy, like they're going to get injured, suspended.
You're not going to have all the information either, right? You're not going to have the information from the cup games. If you're wildcarding 27, that information won't come out until probably like 28.
Yeah, so the game week 32 blank, we'll only know more about that before probably the game week 28 or game week 29 deadline. So closer to, so you're kind of going
wildcarding 27, you're going into 32 blind.
But I mean, that's where, but that's where you're maybe making your bet. So this goes back to even the first question of, do you get 2 or 3 Liverpool now? Because if you go 3 now and they blank in 28, you might be forced to go this route with less information of wildcard 27, free hit 28, bench 29. Whereas if you are less aggressive and you get 1 or 2 Liverpool now, and they do end up blanking, you can still go either route you want. You don't have to commit. Now, there is maybe a 3rd or 4th option that I do like, and I'll just say that quickly, but we'll explore them on the shows in the future. But I just want to mention them now in case it impacts people's transfer decisions this week. So the alternative is you just free hit in 28, so you don't wildcard in 27. And this is the one that I like as well, where you still wildcard in 33, you still bench boost in 34, but you use a lot of transfers and hits to get to doublers in 27, free hit 28 when they all blank, and then you still have them in 29 because they were the doublers from 27. So that's a route where you could get through and just use the free hit in 28, not end up wildcard free hit bench boost all 3 weeks in a row, and then suddenly a load of info comes out. So that's something else. And then the final option, just to put out there, is there's many looking at like a wildcard 29. So dead end into 28, wildcard 29, free hit the blanks in 32, and then still try to get that bench boost off in 34 or 37. So I think there's a lot. The conclusion is there's so many routes. It's so team dependent. If you've already got the players you need for 27 and 29, you might not want to be, getting rid of them in 28 just because they blank. So I do see an argument that could also be a viable free hit in the way that free hit for you this week is more viable. So that's a lot on double game week. So I'm going to go off the data slide. I'm just going to switch to the talking heads and let's just answer quick fire questions. What's the minimum number of players, Gabriel, that you could field this week and not fall too far behind? I guess the double game week muddies it a bit, doesn't it? Because it's not just the number of players, it's the number of fixtures, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So if you've got, let's say the average double game week, I think, when the game week deadline comes, will be between 5 and 6. And then the more aggressive teams or the ones on chips, maybe 7, 8, 9. So the average will probably fall to 5, 6. Let's say there's 6 doublers. Let's say there's 5 to be more conservative. That's 10 fixtures right there already. And then you still have another 6. So it's like 16 players worth of fixtures is what I think would be enough to like just tread water. And if your assets are the ones that return, you'll climb.
Yeah.
If you've got less than 14, 13 fixtures, I think this week is going to hurt. That's what I'm looking at. Between 13 to 16 is going to hurt. You need 15, 16 fixtures and more maybe to really attack it.
Bang on. I agree.
One from K7 for you, Gabe. Is keeping Botman and Trippier and playing Bueno or selling Botman to Tarkowski and Shaw to Robertson? So he was kind of saying he can only get one Liverpool right now, but if he got rid of Botman and Shaw, he could get like another double game week in Tarkowski, also maybe get a Liverpool double game week and just be a bit more aggressive, I guess. I don't know if this is for a -4 K7. Let us know. I think it might be 2 free transfers. I'm not sure. Would you keep Botman just because he has that fixture in 28?
No,
I don't think I would.
No, I wouldn't. I like those. I like those transfers. What is it?
Yeah, I like the transfers too.
Botman to Tarkowski and Shaw to Robbo.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Benjamin was saying, let them sell these guys. So when we're talking about like people selling Rashford and stuff, and Trippier, he was like, better for hits. I agree. Yeah, I hope they keep selling them for hits.
Oh man, it's going to be amazing.
So you already answered this, but he's on your bench, Sufal. So obviously, C Hunt asks, do you ever include a West Ham defender on free hit? And just maybe not in the starting 11. You could diversify, right? Instead of having all triple Everton start in defense, one of those could be on the bench. And then I guess that's where.
Should I read out my free hit? I don't have.
Yeah, actually, it's a good time to say it. Yeah. Read it out now quickly, and then maybe people have questions on some of the assets.
So I have Pickford in goal, and then I have Coleman, Tarkowski, and Dawson are my back three. So it's triple Everton defense. We talked about that. It might be a little bit crazy.
With one Wolves defender, right?
With one Wolves defender.
Yep. It's the goalkeeper as well. So it's 4 defenders, 3 for Everton, 1 Wolves. Okay.
Yeah. So that's back 4. It's a 3-4-3. Then my midfield 4 is Odegaard, Saka, Odegaard, Saka, Salah, and Gakpo. And then my front 3 is Nketiah, Haaland, and Darwin.
That feels quite spicy.
And then my first sub is Mahrez.
That is actually crazy, isn't it? When your sub is Mahrez. No, I like that. Let us know what you guys think in the chat. So actually, K7 did clarify. So it is a -4. So we'd be doing De Bruyne to Salah, Tarkowski to Shaw. Sorry, Botman to Tarkowski, Shaw to Robbo. So it's Tark, Robbo, Salah, -4. I think I would go for it.
I think it's worth it. -4. I think -4 will be kind of the norm this week. And that's the other thing on the free hit. I'm starting out with that +4. And then in addition to that, I will have 1, 2, 3. I have 9.
Yeah, how many fixtures will you have? So 18 double game week fixtures and then 3 normal. So 20.
No, 10 double game week. So 21 fixtures.
Compared to what I'm saying is like maybe 15 to 16 is the trading. So just from the appearance points alone, like you might be 10, 15 points up without a return.
And just appearance points alone, and then add the not taking a hit. So I'm looking at
because the average hit
maybe around 20 points.
That's quite nice for a free hit. I think if you can get to a 20-point gain on the team you would have had without the free hit, I would consider that a huge success personally.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Joao Felix doesn't go off.
Yeah. So Combe asks, with Trippier more than likely going down in price tonight, is a move to Trent not as bad as I thought? I think it depends when you bought Trippier. Like if you got him at 5.2 million, you're selling for 5.6 and then buying back for 6 million, that's still bad because in that scenario, him price dropping doesn't even change your sell price. It doesn't actually do much for you apart from make him 0.4 more expensive to buy back instead of 0.5. So I think that 0.1 there to buy back is going to make me want to make that move. I'd still be looking to move on Shaw over Trippier if you have Shaw. If you don't, then that's tough. This is where, like, for me, that's why I'm looking to get rid of Kane so I can get to Trent from Shaw. Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. Like, I want to spread my money out of Kane rather than move Trippier on and, just cannibalize my team value. But you might have bought, I know people who bought Trippier at 5.8, 5.9. Like, if you got him at that price, then sure, like, go for it. Play the fixtures.
Yeah.
We have Claire needs to get rid of 2. Castagna and KDB, maybe depending on this UCL game, and perhaps get Trent and Gakpo. That would leave 1.7 spare with a -4 hit. So essentially, Castagna and KDB to Trent and Gakpo. I do like that, but I think it's just what you said about Gakpo, like not being 100% assured of the future minutes. But for now, like in a game as big as tonight, like he's there, he's in that best 11, and yes, he might get some earlier subs with the return of some of those players like Jota and Diaz, but I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I guess the alternative is, could you afford something like a Salah and Tarkowski? I guess you probably don't want to go there. You want to keep Trent long term. You don't want Salah long term. If that's the case, then I do like this move, and I think again it's okay for a -4.
Yeah, I think it's okay for the -4 on in a game week like this. I would. It is risky though because Gakpo may be a transfer waiting to happen when Firmino gets healthy, or even when Jota gets healthier, who can take Gakpo or Darwin's place.
True, and as she just mentions, it's not worth taking a -8, getting rid of Ward. So she's going to have to play Ward against Arsenal this week. So obviously Raya, her goalkeeper, doesn't play, but then he has a double, so he's not worth selling. Yeah, I wouldn't be selling him because I think Ward, if you do end up deciding you want to bench boost in 29 or 34, Leicester's double in 29 is Crystal Palace away, Aston Villa home. Like, if you somehow end up getting a team that's bench boost worthy in 29, Ward seems like the ideal bench boost keeper that week. So I wouldn't be moving him this week and not for another hit. And then the final questions. So Natajak says, I cannot afford Trent, Robbo, VVD, Max Arsenal, Tarkowski and team already. Is there any defender worth -4 hit for? So is there any defender worth a -4 that isn't the expensive Liverpool players, Arsenal or Tarkowski? I guess keep an eye on Gomez, right? 4.3 million Liverpool defender. Again, a fire probably waiting to happen, but read the presses, see what happens. Like, does Gomez play well enough to keep Matip out? And
but for a hit, it's such a risk.
For a hit, actually, then I guess it's not like Tarkowski where you're going to keep him and he plays in 28. Wolves defender, I wouldn't go there either. Maximum Arsenal. No. Yeah, I'd say no then, actually. Good point. FPL teacher. Was there any combo around free hit 29? Looks good if you dead end immediately after. That's my current preferred route, Lucian. So I'm probably still looking to free hit in 29, but I'm going to try and carry through that wildcard till 33 because there's a blank in 32, and the teams that are likely to blank in 32 will be similar to the ones who blank in 28. So my view is, if I'm kind of dead ending into 28, as you say, but then I'm free hitting, I can still get the 11 I want for that double game week and then ride the players that will play in blank 32 because I kept them in my team between 28 and 32. So it will mean that game week 30 and 31 will likely not be fun for me, or they'll be a bit problematic, but I think it will give me enough gains. The alternative you could try is wildcard 29 and free hit the blank in 32 instead. So that's an alternative route. But I want a wildcard as close to my bench boost as possible, and I'm leaning more towards that 34 bench boost than the 29. So that's just my thinking. Kevin he's also on a free hit, Gabe. He's gone for Robbo, Trent, and Salah. So he's actually now saying that your loaded attack maybe sounds a bit more exciting, which I think I agree. I think if it wasn't a free hit, I wouldn't mind having like Robbo, Trent, and Salah. And if we knew they had like a 28 fixture and you had those free and you went through, I think on a free hit, I think I'd still want to, just based on the defensive numbers we saw, I'd still just try to get a slice of the attacking pie and hope that by having 3 of them, like, you're going to get the points somewhere.
Yeah, and I did have a Robbo and Trent. I had like a more balanced draft. My draft right now is very like front heavy. I had a more balanced one with 2 Robbo and Trent, and I had Robbo, Trent, and Zinchenko, and then I had like Zinchenko, Odegaard, and Saka, and like those were my 6, and they were like a nice puzzle piece. It was
More
quite balanced.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not holding on to this
less
team forever,
exciting.
right?
But
Yeah,
less
that's the thing.
exciting.
You're not holding this team forever. Like you just want to go as aggressive as you can on this free hit. So Claire
Balls
did
to the
add, by the
wall,
way.
like Thelma and
Yeah,
Louise off
exactly.
that cliff. You know, it's a free hit. So like I think, and then the data suggests is that there's just more upside in the attack in
Yeah,
game
no,
week
I
25.
agree. So I think Claire just does clarify that she is going to not be getting Mo. So I think that KDB and Castagna move that we're talking about to Trent and Gakpo for the -4, I think that makes a lot of sense. She does not have any
Yeah.
intention of having Mo. She got rid of him on the Game Week 6 wildcard, and she has been doing great without. I believe you have also overtaken me, Claire. So I have some catching up to do. Yeah, it's going to be a tough end to the season for me, that's for sure. Yeah, so international break between 28 and 29. Yep, that's right.
And that's an important thing that actually a lot of content creators are just overlooking. They're glossing over that international break, especially when for people that are thinking of maybe wildcarding in 27 or something like that, or there's a lot happening in between 28 and like whatever 31, 32.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think she also mentions she can't actually afford KDB to Salah direct anyway without a hit. So even if she could do it, I don't think it's something she can do. Yeah, because that would be the alternative. Like you ask yourself, do you think Salah +4 without the hit is better than Gakpo and Trent for the hit? But yeah, I think I would go the route you're going, especially if you don't even want Salah. Then I think Trent is a nice long-term pick. And let's just hope he gets that 28 fixture. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Cool. Let's get out of here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You will hopefully now make the second half game at least, where Madrid will continue their big return from 2-0 down and go on to win the game.
I'm looking forward to the 7-4. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be an exciting game. I can't wait to watch the second half, and I'm going to go check the highlights as well for the Osman goal. But thank you to all the haulers. As always, it's been a pleasure chatting with you all live. We'll see you next week. We'll tweet out what time we're going to go. And good luck in Blank Double Gameweek 25. May your arrows be green, guys.
Good luck on your
Peace.
free hit. If you're on free hit, reach out. We compare drafts. Have fun this week. Here we go.
Nice. See you guys soon.